afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon. Okay. In the last class, we have discussed some of the concepts related to respiratory volumes and capacities by which we can understand the functioning of the lungs. Okay. And today we'll discuss about exchange of gases. Okay. Exchange of gases at different regions in the body. Okay. And next, okay, the exchange of gases, that is the will occur mainly by diffusion, and we all know very well the diffusion mainly depends upon the concentration. So concentration and the pressure. So here the partial pressure, that means the partial pressure of the gases will determine from where to where the gases has to be diffused. So based upon the partial pressure of the gases, the diffusion of the gases across the membranes will occur. So how the partial pressure is maintained? Is the partial pressure at different regions, and from where to where which gas will be diffused or transported, that one we'll discuss now. Okay, there is exchange of gases. Alveoli are the primary sites of exchange of gases. Okay, primarily, okay, that is during breathing, the oxygen-rich air is transported. Okay, the oxygen-rich air is transported from a atmosphere up to the alveolar chamber. And in the alveolar chamber, the primary exchange of gases will occur. Okay, in the alveolar chamber, the primary exchange of gases will occur. And next, exchange of gases also occur between and tissues. There is another region in the body where exchange of gases also occur. Okay, that is between the blood and the tissues. That means the blood will carry the respiratory gases, that is the oxygen, from lungs to the different parts of the body. After reaching the different parts of the body, that is the tissues or organs, there again the exchange of gases will occur. So that means there are two regions in our body where exchange of gases will occur. The primary exchange of gases will occur at the alveolar region, and the second exchange of gases, secondarily, the exchange of gases occur between the blood and the different tissues. Okay, blood and the different tissues that are present in our body. Okay, what are the gases that are usually undergo exchange means? The oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged in these sites by simple diffusion, mainly based on the pressure or concentration gradient. Okay, what are the respiratory gases that are exchanged means? That is oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are the gases, are the respiratory gases that are exchanged at the sites where the exchange of gases will occur. And this process occurs by simple diffusion. Okay, we all know very well the diffusion is a passive process which does not involve any energy, and it mainly depends upon the pressure gradient or concentration gradient. Okay, that is the difference in the pressure or the difference in the concentration will helps in the full diffusion of respiratory gases. Okay, at the sites where the exchange of gases will occur. So that is okay. And next, the rate of diffusion of these respiratory gases depends upon the solubility of the gases as well as thickness of the membranes involved in diffusion are also some important factors that affect the rate of diffusion. So the rate of diffusion, that means the rate of exchange of gases or the rate of diffusion, mainly depends upon two features. The one is the solubility of the gas. Okay, the gas which is more soluble will diffuse more. So solubility of the gas.
Oxygen is soluble only now, sir.
Yes, ma?
Oxygen is soluble only now, sir.
Okay, when compared to oxygen, carbon dioxide is more soluble.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so here, okay, whatever it is, that one we'll discuss later. First of all, we are saying what are the factors that will affect the rate of diffusion or exchange of gases at the sites where the exchange of gases will occur. Okay, the first one is solubility of the gas. Whichever the gas that is more soluble, that is more diffused. And the second one is the thickness of the membrane through which the respiratory gases has to be diffused. Okay, if the thickness of the membrane is more, okay, the diffusion of the gases becomes difficult, or the exchange of gases becomes difficult. If the membrane is thin, the diffusion of the gases can occur. That's why we can observe now the persons who are suffering with any pulmonary infection, what happens? More fluid will be produced from the cells that are surrounding this respiratory tract, and this fluid get accumulated in the alveolar chamber. As a result, the thickness of the alveoli will be increased. As a result, the diffusion of the gases becomes difficult. That's why those persons who are suffering from asthma or bronchitis, okay, they are unable to breathe properly, or they are unable to take oxygen properly, because the thickness of the membrane which is involved in exchange of gases is increased. As a result, the diffusion process becomes difficult. So these are the two factors. One is solubility of the gas, and the second, thickness of the membrane through which the diffusion process will occur. Okay, these are the two factors which will affect the rate of diffusion. Okay, there is understood. Anybody is having any doubt up to now regarding the exchange of gases? And next, okay, and here we said the pressure. Pressure means not the pressure of the air. Okay, the air consists of different types of gases. So we have to consider, okay, the diffusion mainly depends upon the partial pressure. Okay, the pressure exerted by the individual gas, or the concentration of the individual gas in that air will determine
PO2
of
means,
diffusion.
sir.
Asma?
PO2.
PO2 means partial pressure of oxygen. PCO2 means
Okay, sir.
partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Wait, let me complete. Okay, now, so that means in a mixture of gas, okay, air is a mixture of different gases, and each gas is having a different different pressure, and the pressure exerted by an individual gas in a mixture of gases, we are calling it as the partial pressure. So the rate of diffusion depends upon the partial pressure of that gas. Even though, okay, for example, if you take air, okay, even if you apply much, okay, more pressure in the air, okay, it is not okay, the rate of diffusion will increase, but it will be increased according to the partial pressure of the gas of that particular, okay, partial pressure of that particular gas. So pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is called partial pressure, and is represented by PO2 for oxygen and PCO2 for carbon dioxide. If you say hydrogen, PH2, partial pressure of hydrogen gas. If you say sulfur dioxide, okay, partial pressure of SO2. The gases that are, okay, that means the pressure exerted by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is called as the partial pressure. which is represented by letter P for any gas. For example, if we are representing the partial pressure of oxygen, we represent like PO2. If we represent the partial pressure of hydrogen, we represent like PH2. If we want to represent the partial pressure of sulfur dioxide in the air, we say PSO2. Okay, for example, if you want to represent the partial pressure of helium gas, PHE. Okay, like that. Like that. Okay, that means in a mixture of gases, if you want to represent the pressure exerted by an individual gas, it is represented in the form of partial pressure. So, okay, as we are discussing here related to respiration, what are the respiratory gases means? That is oxygen and carbon dioxide. These are the major respiratory gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide. So, we are representing with the oxygen and carbon dioxide partial pressure. That is PO2 represents the partial pressure of oxygen, and PCO2, that is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Okay, that is the partial pressure of these gases will determine, okay, from where to where the diffusion has to occur. Okay, for now, okay, up to now we might have understood. Okay, the air that we breathe in consists of more oxygen. That is, the partial pressure of oxygen will be more in the inhaled air. And the blood that is brought to the site of lungs, okay, the blood that is brought to the lungs from different organs of the body will be having a more partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Okay, the inhaled air is having a less partial pressure of carbon dioxide, whereas the air, okay, whereas the blood that is brought to the lungs from different parts of our body is having more partial pressure of carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide from the blood will be diffused into the cavity of the lungs or alveolar chamber. And at the same time, as the partial pressure of oxygen in the inhaled air is more when compared to the blood that is brought to the site of lungs. So because of the more partial pressure in the lungs, partial pressure of oxygen in the lungs, okay, the diffusion of gases will occur from the lung to the, okay, the diffusion of oxygen will occur from the lungs to the blood. Okay, that one okay, it is represented in the table. Okay, partial pressure of these two gases in the atmospheric air and the two sites of diffusion are given in the table 17.1 and in the figure 17.3. Okay, we can observe very clearly. So when you observe here, okay, in the air that we breathe in, what is the partial pressure of oxygen means? Okay, the atmospheric air consists of more partial pressure of oxygen, that is 159. Good afternoon, madam. Yes, madam. You can unmute yourself, madam. Okay. We can observe the partial pressure of gases at different places, ma. So from that we can understand from where to where the gases can be transported. Okay, when you observe here, okay, in the atmospheric air, the partial pressure of oxygen is 159, and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 0.3. That is in the atmospheric air. Okay, the air
That is pressure value, sir.
okay, that is present in the atmosphere. Okay, the partial pressure that is okay, the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmospheric air. Okay, now.
Yes, sir.
And okay, from the okay, the air that will breathe inside. Okay, and okay, that one will be transported to the alveoli. Okay, while okay, during inspiration, the air will breathe in, and finally it is transported to the alveoli. Okay, after okay, by reaching to the alveoli, the partial pressure of oxygen comes to 104. The partial pressure of oxygen comes to 104. And the 104. And the partial pressure of carbon dioxide comes to 40. 40. In the alveolar chamber, inside the alveolar chamber, that is in the lungs, the partial pressure of oxygen is 104 and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 40. Okay, now, and next in the alveolar, near to the alveolar region, okay, the blood will be carried to the lungs. Okay, in the capillaries, in the blood capillaries, or that is the deoxygenated blood that is present in the blood capillaries near the lungs. Okay, when you observe the blood of these blood capillaries that are present near the lungs, which is deoxygenated, in that the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood or blood capillaries near the alveoli is 40. Okay, the partial pressure of oxygen, okay, the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood of blood capillaries that are supplied to the lungs is 40. And at the same time,
How, sir, it is increased?
what ma?
Sir, oxygen is
How is it
decreased when
increased, sir?
compared to atmospheric and alveoli, sir. Carbon dioxide is increased.
Carbon dioxide already okay, in our body carbon dioxide is produced now. Okay, during a expiration all the air is not sent outside, some residual volume will be there now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So because of that some carbon dioxide is still present in the lungs. That's why we'll find a little bit more partial pressure of carbon dioxide.
Okay, sir.
And next, while breathing the air into the lungs also, all the air is not coming now. Okay, some amount of gases get absorbed by the walls of the respiratory tract. That's why the partial pressure of oxygen will be lowered from the atmosphere to the alveolar chamber. Okay, in the atmospheric air it is 159, but when it comes to alveoli it is only 104. But when you observe the blood capillaries that are supplied to the lungs, which will bring the deoxygenated blood, in that blood, the partial pressure of oxygen is 40. So that means even in the deoxygenated blood also, some amount of oxygen is still present. Not all the oxygen is not absorbed by the tissues. Some amount of oxygen is still present in the deoxygenated blood. And that with more, okay? And that deoxygenated blood, here the deoxygenated blood means not completely oxygen is removed. Some amount of oxygen is still present, but it is having more carbon dioxide. Understand? When compared to the oxygen. That's why we are calling it as a deoxygenated blood, because some amount of oxygen will be absorbed by the tissues and some oxygen will be still present in the blood. And that oxygen is again carried towards the lungs. That's why we'll find less partial pressure of oxygen in the deoxygenated blood that is supplied to the lungs. And that is 40. And the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the deoxygenated blood is 45. Okay, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the deoxygenated blood is 45. So when you observe here, so when you observe at the alveolar chamber, in the at the alveolar chamber, inside the alveolar chamber, the partial pressure of oxygen is 104, and in the blood is 40. So where the partial pressure of oxygen is more, in the alveolar chamber or in the blood that is supplied to the lungs? Okay, where the partial pressure of oxygen is more, in the alveolar chamber or in the blood that is supplied to the lungs, the deoxygenated blood? Okay, obviously it is the alveolar chamber. The alveolar chamber is having a more partial pressure of oxygen. Partial pressure of oxygen. So that's why what happens, the oxygen from the alveolar chamber, which is having more partial pressure of oxygen, will diffuses through the membrane of the alveoli and reaches the blood of lungs. And at the same time, okay, when you observe the carbon dioxide partial pressure, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveolar chamber is only 40. But the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood that is supplied to the lungs, that is the deoxygenated blood, is having 45. So at each region, okay, in each part, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more, means the blood that is supplied to the lungs. So as the blood is having more carbon dioxide concentration, the carbon dioxide from the blood will diffuses into the alveoli. The carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses into the chamber of the alveoli. Okay, at the same time, the oxygen from the alveolar chamber diffuses into the blood of the lungs, that is supplied to the lungs. So, okay, so based upon the partial pressure of individual gases that are present at the alveolar region of the lungs, the exchange of gases will occur. The exchange of gases will occur. Okay, at the alveolar region, the partial pressure of oxygen is 104, and in the blood that is supplied to the alveoli or lungs, okay, the partial pressure of oxygen is only 40. So the oxygen from the alveolar chamber diffuses into the blood, is supplied to the lungs. And at the same time, okay, when you come to the carbon dioxide, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveoli is only 40, whereas the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood or in the deoxygenated blood that is supplied to the lungs is 45. So only a slight difference, that is only 5. Okay, 5 atmospheric pressure only. Even that 5 atmospheric pressure is enough for the exchange of carbon dioxide between the blood and the alveoli, the carbon dioxide. Okay, there is a, so the exchange of gases will occur in the alveoli, in which the oxygen from the alveoli reaches the blood, and at the same time the carbon dioxide from the blood enters into the alveolar chamber and later undergoes expiration. After inspiration, it is followed by expiration, and the carbon dioxide rich air is sent outside, and again followed by inspiration, and the oxygen rich air is taken into the alveolar chamber, and the exchange of gases will occur again, followed by expiration again. Okay, that is how. And next, once the blood is once the respiratory gases are exchanged at the alveolar, okay, taking the oxygen rich blood, this oxygenated blood now, okay, from the lungs it is distributed to the heart, and from the heart it is pumped into the blood vessels, okay, that is arteries, and the arteries will carry the oxygenated blood to the tissues. Okay, while it reaching to the tissues, what happens? The partial pressure of oxygen will become 95. After reaching the tissues, okay, time it reaches to the tissues, the partial pressure of oxygen reaches to 95. That is the blood that is supplied to the tissues. And in the tissues, as continuously the cellular respiration occurs, so what happens? The oxygen is continuously utilized for respiration. So the partial pressure of oxygen in the tissues is gradually decreasing, and it is maintained at a partial pressure like 40. So at the tissues, the blood is having more partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, and the tissues is having less partial pressure of oxygen, that is only 40. So because of the difference in the partial pressure of oxygen between the tissues and the blood, the exchange of gases will occur, or the exchange of oxygen between the blood and the tissues will occur. And at the same time, when you come to the carbon dioxide, as it is a oxygenated blood, so the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood that is supplied to the tissues is only 40. Is only 40. Whereas the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the cells or in the tissues is 45. So the difference in that partial pressure will help in the diffusion of carbon dioxide from the tissues into the blood. And now after giving out oxygen, now the blood will take the carbon dioxide and the blood becomes deoxygenated, because as it is giving the oxygen, so it becomes deoxygenated. Okay, and that deoxygenated blood now takes up the carbon dioxide, because there is a difference in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide between the tissues and the blood. The tissue is having higher partial pressure of carbon dioxide, whereas the blood is having low carbon dioxide partial pressure. So the carbon dioxide from the tissues will enter into the blood, and now this blood with carbon dioxide rich, again through veins, it is transported to the heart, and from the heart finally it is given to the lungs for oxygenation. So that means here when you observe the exchange of gases at the alveolar region or in the tissues region, both will occur because of the difference in the partial pressure of gases, whether it is oxygen or carbon dioxide. The difference in the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide will help in the exchange of gases. Alveoli to blood and blood to tissues. Understood all of you? Anybody is having any doubt regarding this transportation or exchange of gases?
No, sir.
Okay. So when you observe what is the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere means it is 159. But by the time it reaches to the lungs or alveolar chamber, the partial pressure of oxygen is slightly reduced and becomes 104. But it is higher than the partial pressure of oxygen that is in the blood that is supplied to the lungs. That's why the exchange of oxygen occurs between lungs and the blood. And next, come to the carbon dioxide. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, the partial pressure in alveoli is there, no, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That is common for all organisms or only humans, sir?
Okay, okay. It depends upon the condition of the person. We are discussing here with reference to the normal human. We are discussing related to human only, not to the other animals. Okay, it will be varied from, okay, because the size of the lung will vary from one organism to another organism. And the breathing rate will vary from one organism to another organism. So it will not be common for all the organisms. Here we are discussing about a healthy, normal human.
Okay, sir.
Okay, not doing heavy work or something. Okay, we are discussing here with okay, with reference to a healthy person. Okay, healthy, normal human. This is the part. Yes. Okay,
Okay.
and okay, when you observe, okay, when you are doing exercise, the partial pressures and the breathing rate will change because they take a deep breath. So automatically the, okay, and they need more oxygen. So again, okay, the oxygen levels in the blood will be changing. So there is a difference in the partial pressures of the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, for a person who is doing exercise. Okay, now. So whatever we are discussing, that is with reference to the normal human person.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.